On the day I was reborn, Yan Wanshu had just entered the estate. An orphaned girl. She adopted my mother as her foster mother, then seized everything I possessed. In my past life, I was forced to marry for her sake, to a man who adored her, enduring endless humiliation until I leaped from the city wall to my tragic death in a foreign land. Now, upon meeting again, Yan Wanshu hid behind my mother, timidly peeking out to look at me. Sister. I'm Wanshu. I twisted my lips. Where did this wild girl come from? Daring to call this princess sister? The sensation of every bone shattering upon hitting the ground after leaping from the city wall was unbearable. The agony of witnessing Yan Wanshu arm in arm with my mother, entering the estate together intimately on my very first day back from rebirth, was even more unbearable. Yan Wanshu was an orphan my mother had picked up on her return journey from visiting my maternal grandparents. Though her features hadn't fully matured yet, she already possessed a stunning beauty. In my previous life, when she entered the mansion, I had already received the imperial decree, along with several other imperial clan daughters. I went to Tianyun Temple to shave my head and devote myself to monastic life, praying for half a year for the Empress Dowager's recovery from her long illness. I left the manor in the morning. While Yan Wanshu entered at noon, we missed each other by a hair. When I returned 6 months later, she had become the beloved fourth young miss. My usually stern father treated her with unusual gentleness. My mother, who seldom paid much attention to her children, showed her special indulgence. My eldest brother constantly fawned over his little sister, and even my Shanghai residence became her dwelling place. At a banquet arranged especially for me, mother spoke in a tone both gentle and unquestionable. Yuan Wanshu is frail. The Mountain Moon residence has a hot spring pool. As her elder sister, you should give her the courtyard. I've already instructed someone to prepare a new residence for you. Father remained silent, while my eldest brother deftly served a dish to Yan Wanshu, who kept her head bowed. Yan Wanshu cast a timid glance my way. I clenched my chopsticks tightly. After half a year apart, does mother care not at all for her own daughter? What nonsense is this? Mother furrowed her delicate brows. It seems your seclusion hasn't tamed your stubborn nature, it's even taught you to defy your elders. With that accusation of disrespect levied, the meal became unbearable. I left the dining hall first. After taking a few steps, I heard a voice behind me, trembling with tears. Mother, please return Shanghai residence to my sister. I was the one who took it from her. Don't blame her. Perhaps because of my rebirth. Today I collapsed before even boarding the carriage to Tianyun Temple, fainting instantly. In the front hall of the mansion, I had just finished drinking the medicine, its bitter taste lingering on my tongue, when mother returned with Yan Wanshu. Seeing me after over a month apart, mother pressed her hand to her chest, her tone astonished. You've grown even more indolent. Relying on your father's power, you dare to neglect an imperial edict. My father is the Prince of Jinan, though not of imperial blood. He earned the vast holdings of the Wang family through his own blood and sweat on the battlefield. Because of him, I was granted the title of princess at a young age. When father took his entire household to guard the frontier, I alone remained behind in the palace. Raised at the Empress Dowager's side, it was called upbringing but was truly captivity. I received no education in poetry or books, no proper training in etiquette or morality. A child too young to understand the world couldn't escape the palace's sinister schemes. Day after day, I was flattered to death, worn down by such treatment for 7 long years. I longed day and night for my family's return, dreaming of joyful reunions at my parents' side. Yet in the end, I became the outsider. Later, when the great Qi dynasty fell, I was forced to replace Yan Wanshu in a political marriage to a foreign land. Alone and helpless, imprisoned within the prince's residence, I swallowed my pride and endured. Yet even in that humiliation, I found mentors to guide me and friends to protect me. Though I ultimately lost by a single misstep. Defeated utterly. I died with a roar. Reflecting now. Those days feel far more vivid than this present existence of constant, silent suffering. When Mother demanded why I remained in the mansion, my gaze swept past her and settled on Yan Wanshu. Slender and delicate. She was clearly a frail beauty in the making. Mother seized Yan Wanshu's pale, delicate wrist and introduced her to me. This is my adopted daughter. She will reside in the mansion henceforth. Yan Wanshu's bright eyes sparkled, as if naturally veiled in mist. Sis. Sister. I'm Wanshu. I tilted my head. A faint, mocking smile playing on my lips. Some wild girl dares call this princess sister? My harsh words drew an immediate rebuke from Mother, her tone laced with the pain of disappointment. Mother, I countered. Do you not detect the medicinal scent permeating this hall? The pungent, bitter aroma, thick enough to linger, invaded my nostrils, reminding me again and again that my mother truly cared not for me. She cherished Yan Wanshu without reason, yet turned a blind eye to the pallor of her own flesh and blood daughter. Yan Wanshu tugged lightly at Mother's sleeve. Startled by my question, Mother snapped back to awareness. Are you ill? Has the household physician seen you? I sank back into my chair. Propping up my still heavy head with my hand, I sent someone with the token to the palace to summon the imperial physician. Mother sighed. If it were a minor ailment, why disturb the inner palace? Your temperament, truly, has been spoiled. Indeed, spoiled. But isn't that precisely what the noble ladies in the palace relish, seeing me arrogant and rebellious? My head empty? My illness came on suddenly, causing me to miss the time for entering the temple to pray for the Empress Dowager's well-being. The imperial physician prescribed several doses of medicine, saying my spirit was agitated and my chi and blood obstructed, requiring careful recuperation. Upon hearing this, the emperor exempted me from my seclusion. Mother took Yan Wanshu to stay at a temple on the outskirts of the capital, keeping us quite distant. For now, things remained peaceful. The early spring drizzle fell steadily, continuing even into the night. I held a candle, leaning by the window to watch the rain. Amid the patter of raindrops, a blue figure carrying an oil-paper umbrella approached the house. The closed umbrella slid to the doorstep, carrying damp coolness inside. Before he reached me, his voice came first. You honor. I brought you some Hawaii cakes. Second brother's robe was damp. Take care not to catch a chill. The weather is warming, it won't matter. Second brother replied, pulling the oil paper wrapped pastry from his bosom. The one square paper was crumpled and flattened. Without unwrapping it, one could already imagine the sorry state of the hay cake inside. Second brother tapped his forehead in embarrassment. They got squashed while we were rushing through the rain. I'll buy you fresh ones tomorrow. Only second brother remembered my love for these cakes. The pastry shop south of the city made the finest hay cakes in the capital. Every time he returned from the martial arts grounds, he'd bring me one. But as I looked at the cake on the square table, what flashed before my eyes was the blood-stained letter announcing second brother's death. Killed in battle. His remains lost forever. When my betrothed's carriage passed the place of his death, I couldn't even step down to pay my respects. My heart ached, as if wrapped layer upon layer in thorns and vines. Even drawing a single breath sent spasms of pain through me. You honor. What's wrong? Second brother waved his hand before my eyes. You look rather pale. My second brother, Chichen, always treated others with sincerity. He thought I was jealous because Mother had brought home an adopted daughter, and tried his best to comfort me. I took a bite of the squashed hay cake, then stuffed a piece into my brother's mouth to silence him. Mother was cold to me, and equally so to my two brothers. When she heard second brother was wounded in battle, she merely glanced at him without a single question. What I craved but couldn't have. Second brother never possessed either. How could he possibly comfort me? With his mouth stuffed with pastry. Second brother looked around and mumbled. Why are there so many candles lit in your room? It's blindingly bright. How can you rest properly? Seeing him reach to extinguish the flames, I stiffened and shrieked. Don't touch it. His hand froze midair. His face blank with confusion. I swallowed hard. Second brother. I'm tired. You should go back first. Oh. All right. After my second brother left, silence returned to the room. Leaning on the desk, I felt as if I'd been transported back to the sixth prince's residence in the imperial city of Nanyue. The servants accompanying me on the marriage alliance died one by one before my eyes. The entire courtyard plunged into pitch darkness, leaving only the sticky sensation of mud-mixed blood clinging to my body, solidifying into years of nightmares. That was the gift the sixth prince of Nanyue bestowed upon me. He poured all his hatred for the Dachi imperial family and his resentment at being denied his beloved onto me. Because of my cold, unyielding attitude, my refusal to acknowledge Yan Wanshu as my sister, my mother grew increasingly displeased with me. Initially, I shut myself away due to illness. Later, as my health improved, I began visiting the palace every other day to accompany the Empress Dowager. Out of sight, out of mind, no conflicts arose. As May began and summer heat approached, I was plucking fresh blossoms for the Empress Dowager in the imperial garden when I spotted a line of eunuchs hurrying straight toward the Changxin Palace. What's the rush? I asked casually, holding a bouquet of blue and pink hydrangeas. Turning to the palace maid behind me. Your Highness, the Southern Yu has sent their sixth prince, Yen Su, as a hostage. These eunuchs are preparing his quarters. The maid replied. Changxin Palace is remote and bitterly cold, abandoned for many years. Cleaning it up will take some effort. I withdrew my gaze and handed the bouquet to the maid. You may return first. I'll select some more flowers. After the maid departed, I took the familiar detour to Luhua Hall. In terms of remoteness, Luhua Hall rivals Changxin Palace. The vast hall stood utterly empty, radiating a chill even in summer. Beside a simple desk inside, someone was buried in study. Hearing my footsteps, they lifted their head immediately. Sister Yuan? Wei Lingyu's eyes brightened slightly. Setting down his brush, he walked toward me. Standing a step away, I produced the pills I'd spent a fortune tracking down these past days. These contain parasitic insects. Once ingested, you must take medicine monthly to suppress them. Otherwise, you'll slowly bleed to death. Wei Lingyu took the pills as if receiving some novel toy, his eyes still sparkling with amusement. Why choose me, Sister Yuan? Because I had no choice. Those words stung. Wei Lingyu was the choice made out of necessity. He was the posthumous son of the deposed crown prince. Spared by sheer luck, left to fend for himself in the Luhua Palace. The current emperor grew increasingly senile, his sons tyrannical and incompetent, while court officials were consumed by factional strife. The foundations of the great Qi dynasty rotted like wood infested with worms. Later, pressured by the Southern Yu, they were forced to cede cities and territories. Wei Lingyu inherited not only the deposed crown prince's striking features but also his innate brilliance. Within these palace walls, Wei Lingyu was like a pearl shrouded in dust. Our paths never crossed. In my past life, he lay ill for days without cure. By the time I departed Tianyun Temple, he had been dead for over a month. In this life, as I slipped from the palace at night, I stumbled upon a young eunuch who'd been beaten half to death while pleading for a physician for Wei Lingyu. I diverted to the Luhua Hall and saved his life. He wanted to live, and I happened to need a legitimate blade. I spoke the truth, yet Wei Lingyu only laughed. His slightly oversized robe swayed lightly, accentuating his gauntness. Dawnlight seeping through the palace doors cast shifting patterns of light and shadow upon Wei Lingyu and me. Smiling, he fixed his gaze upon my eyes and swallowed the pill before me. Moments later, his back arched as he slowly sank to his knees. Veins began to throb on his temples as his breathing grew heavier. The sensation of the bug entering his body was unpleasant. I let Wei Lingyu, now half kneeling before me, grip my wrist. His state was truly pitiable. Yet only in this way could I muster a shred of trust toward him. His grip left red marks on my wrist. After a while, Wei Lingyu tilted his head back and said haltingly, "Now, you can tell me what you need me to do. Kill someone for me." I slipped a note into Wei Lingyu's robe. It listed several contacts I'd placed within the palace. "You can call upon them." Who should I kill? The sixth prince of Nanyue, Yan Su. This was a test. One Wei Lingyu and I both understood. I wanted to gauge the sharpness of his blade. More than that, I wanted to bind him utterly to my ship of thieves. Wei Lingyu regained some strength. His hand reached up, brushing away the hydrangea petals clinging to my collar. The petals fell silently into Wei Lingyu's palm. He smiled and replied, "Agreed." I lowered my gaze. My tone veiled in ambiguity. "Don't you want to know why I want him dead? If Sister Yuan doesn't want him alive, it must be his fault. In a past life, Yan Su had fallen for Yan Wanshu at first sight. After that fleeting glimpse, Yan Wanshu secretly slipped him several pastries wrapped in a handkerchief, and Yan Su became deeply infatuated. After the Great Qi army's defeat, Yan Su, who had already returned to Nanyue, sought to marry Yan Wanshu, who had since become a princess. Yan Su's pleas fell on deaf ears as Yan Wanshu refused. With a heavy heart, he relinquished her. Later, they agreed to use the pretext of astrological compatibility to temporarily substitute me for the peace bride. My second elder brother died defending our borders. My eldest elder brother, however, chose to sacrifice me to protect his beloved Yan Wanshu. The thought made my temples throb twice. By the time I left the palace, dusk had fallen. The setting sun stretched my shadow long and lonely across the stone steps leading to Xi'an Palace. The deputy director of the astronomical observatory was being led toward the main hall of Xi'an Palace when he collided with me. He bowed and said, "Greetings, Princess Yongkong. You may rise, Minister." I halted my steps. His timing was perfect. The Empress Dowager was in a favorable mood at this hour. The deputy director ostentatiously wiped a non-existent bead of sweat from his brow, then stepped aside to yield the path. Descending the final stone step, I glanced back at the imposing palace behind me. By now, the deputy director must have seen the Empress Dowager. Her mood was likely soured. Stepping into the orange glow, I boarded the carriage bound for the estate. Before we'd even reached halfway, a servant rushed to halt the carriage. "Princess! Trouble! Second young master has fallen ill. His Highness ordered me to fetch the court physician. You must return at once." I yanked open the curtain, my ears ringing with a single thought: how could second brother suddenly fall ill? Second young master sustained some external injuries at the martial arts grounds this noon. After returning to the estate, he suddenly developed a high fever, followed by a rash covering his entire body. He's now delirious from the fever. The curtain was twisted in my fist, completely deformed. Minor injuries, high fever, rash. These were the very symptoms Mother had suffered in my past life. While tending to the flowers, she scraped her palm, and soon after, a high fever and rash followed, nearly costing her her life. Back then, I personally went to the palace to summon the imperial physician. Yan Wanshu stayed by Mother's bedside, using her own blood as medicine, and saved Mother's life. Deeply moved upon her awakening, Mother had Yan Wanshu's name inscribed in the family registry and even persuaded Father to petition for her title as a princess. Yet I, arriving too late, was scolded by Mother for my lack of filial piety. Seeing Yan Wanshu's haggard, pallid appearance back then, even I felt a pang of compassion. But now, the same symptoms have afflicted my second brother. I leapt from the carriage, severed the horse's halter with my dagger, seized the reins, and spurred the steed toward the manor. Wind whistled past my ears as murderous intent churned within my chest. My return was timely. I arrived just as a maid was feeding medicine to my second brother. A crowd gathered around the bed. Yan Wanshu, supported by my eldest brother, had her forearm tightly bandaged. Seeing me return, father beckoned me over. He explained that my second brother's sudden illness was perilous. Had Yan Wanshu not tried our ancestral remedy, resolutely drawing blood to infuse into the medicine, his life would have been in grave danger. I pushed through the crowd, approached the bedside, and bent down to gently touch my second brother's forehead. Though the high fever hadn't subsided after one bowl of medicine, the red rash had significantly faded. This time, it's all thanks to Wanshu. Mother sighed with relief, speaking slowly. Your Highness, I wish for Wanshu to enter the ancestral hall and be recorded in the family registry. From now on, she shall be my true daughter. Father's expression softened, on the verge of consent, while eldest brother also looked at Yan Wanshu with satisfaction. Several gazes met, finally settling on me. I wiped my second brother's sweat with a square handkerchief and said indifferently, Mother decides. Yan Wanshu's eyes brimmed with tears, her clear, autumn-like pupils glistening with moisture. Sister, you've finally accepted me. I thought you'd never like me because I'm so dull. Entering the family registry was a major event, and selecting an auspicious date for the ancestral hall was even more crucial. While they were still choosing the date, word came from the palace. The Empress Dowager had sent word. The astronomical observatory reported that someone from the Wang family had interfered with my birth chart, causing my sudden fainting before praying for the Empress Dowager at Tianyun Temple. She too had suffered minor ailments for months. The Empress Dowager was initially skeptical, but when my second brother fell gravely ill, she was startled. Thus, envoys were dispatched from the palace the very next day. The messenger eunuch bowed low, addressing my father cautiously, Your Highness. Princess Yongkang was raised under the Empress Dowager's watchful eye. She is the treasure of the Empress Dowager's heart. Confining Miss Yen to the Buddhist hall is already an act of immense mercy. Confined to the Buddhist hall, yet no date set for her release. Copying the Heart Sutra 100 times daily, her arms must ache terribly. Our Empress Dowager has always shown such benevolence. After the eunuch departed, Yan Wanshu's face turned deathly pale. She bit her lip tightly, looking helplessly toward her eldest brother. Her brother gently patted her back. After a moment's consideration, he addressed me, You Honor. One cannot place complete faith in the words of the 8 characters. Why not enter the palace and plead with the Empress Dowager for mercy? Not entirely trustworthy? Then why, in my past life, did you insist the horoscope was true? You petitioned the emperor, forcing me to marry Yan Wanshu. Did you truly believe the Empress Dowager feared Yan Wanshu would harm me? I replied softly. The Empress Dowager was merely afraid that Yan Wanshu's presence would prevent me from praying for her well-being. And she grew angry. But copying the Heart Sutra 100 times daily, even iron arms would break under such strain. All these years in the palace, I've copied far more Buddhist scriptures than that. Why didn't my elder brother ever show me any compassion? He paused, startled. You are a princess. But Wanru. Enough. Father slammed his hand on the table. For a subject to question the sovereign's will is the gravest offense. Father speaks wisely. Your daughter will go see second brother first. I curtsied and turned to leave. Second brother's health had improved swiftly, the red rash had faded completely. News of the front courtyard incident had just reached him. Upon meeting, he immediately advised me against entering the palace, lest I incur the Empress Dowager's displeasure. I hooked my arm through his. That's precisely why I've fled here to second brother's side for some peace and quiet. Holding a scroll, he jabbed my forehead in exasperation. You grew up by the Empress Dowager's side. Everyone calls you precious as gold and jade. But that's still the palace. You must have endured your share of hardships. I'm a princess. Who dares cause me hardship? Only you dare poke me. I rubbed my forehead, sighing at his lack of restraint. I heard you galloped back down the long street when I fell gravely ill and lost consciousness. Brother smiled. When did you learn to ride? I had no idea. Daughter of a military family, I picked it up naturally. Then this altered handwriting, also self-taught? My second brother held up the scroll. I read this book during idle nights while tending to you. The corners bear brief annotations of 2 characters. I never knew you recognized my handwriting so well. Just 2 characters revealed the truth. All these years, I've kept every letter you sent home. Seeing your messy scrawl, I knew no one in the palace truly taught you or treated you with sincerity. My handwriting back then was indeed awful. Father once saw my writing and sighed that I was too unruly. Even palace tutors couldn't make me write properly. But you said you knew why. No one had ever taught me properly. My second brother's fingers traced the words on the paper. You never cared for military texts. Never rode horses. And never feared the dark. You're hiding something from me. With your brother here. What are you afraid of? No one noticed these subtle changes in me, only my second brother remembered. If I dug my heels in and refused to answer, knowing my brother's temperament, he wouldn't press me. After a moment's silence, I took the book from his hand and murmured, eyes lowered, what if second brother were no longer here? At that time, father's old ailment had flared up. He resigned his post and returned with mother to our ancestral home to recuperate. Years later, the emperor passed away. His sons fought each other tooth and nail, and the great Qin dynasty teetered on the brink of collapse. Yen Su returned to Nanyue. A year later, the Nanyue army launched a surprise attack. My second brother died in battle because reinforcements never arrived. Before his body had even cooled, I was sent off for a political marriage, adrift like a rootless duckweed. It wasn't until a flower-viewing banquet that I met Yen Rong, the second princess of Nanyue. All the changes began at that moment. The teacup smashed against the tightly closed doorframe, startling the maidservant outside. Tea splashed everywhere, creating a mess. Through the door, the maidservant cautiously asked, Princess, second young master, do you need? No need. I interrupted. When silence returned, the armrest of the chair had been snapped off by my second brother's bare hands. How dare he? Even after grinding these words out between clenched teeth, the veins on my second brother's knuckles remained bulging. I only said I'd had a dream, picking out the most urgent details to share with my second brother. But judging by his expression, he clearly understood the dream was merely my excuse. I turned my head to look at my second brother. I've always had people watching Yen Wanshu. Yet I found no trace of her targeting you. I was injured at the martial arts grounds. After returning to the mansion, I did indeed fall ill, and she came with eldest brother to visit me. If she were behind this, she must have had accomplices within the mansion. Second brother pressed his temples, as if recalling something, his movements halting. That Yen Su. He's due to arrive in the capital within days. In recent years, Nanyu has consistently been overshadowed by Dachi. The hostages they sent were always unloved princes whose lives held little significance. Yen Su, born to a palace maid, grew up with a nature marked by inferiority and a lack of gratitude. Once, in the imperial residence, because the tea served by a servant was slightly too hot, he had all 6 maids on duty strangled. When this reached the southern Yu emperor's ears, he immediately sent this long-neglected son as a hostage. Even after Yen Su returned to southern Yu, he remained unloved by his emperor. The reason the Great Qi dynasty was asked to send a princess to marry the former hostage Yan Su was purely to humiliate the Great Qi royal family. My second brother's gaze darkened slightly as he suddenly mentioned Yan Su. I spoke softly, I've already made arrangements. Second brother need only focus on being a loyal minister and capable general. My second brother possesses the heart of an innocent child, he shouldn't be entangled in these dark, devious schemes. It is enough for me alone to live in the shadows. As for Yan Su, I will not let him return alive to Nanyu to trouble Yan Rong. Yan Wanshu. Her hopes of entering the family registry dashed by the Empress Dowager's decree. Spent her days copying sutras in the newly established Buddhist hall within the inner quarters. I had intended to lure out whoever was aiding her. But she remained remarkably composed, quietly retreating into herself, a behavior that only drew more concerned glances toward her. During the height of summer, the eldest daughter of the Grand Princess, Murong Jin, hosted an elegant gathering at Shishi Garden and extended an invitation to me. The Grand Princess had been nearly 40 when she finally bore this daughter, cherishing her like the apple of her eye. Murong grew up in the Grand Princess's fiefdom and had only recently returned to the capital. Anyone would show her a measure of respect. Many children from the capital's official families attended. Over a dozen ice chests were set up in Shishi Garden, somewhat easing the summer heat. I stood under the shade feeding the koi in the pond when the sounds of poetry and song drifted closer and farther away. Footsteps approached behind me, and Wei Lingyu, whom I hadn't seen in days, appeared beside the rockery. The youth's frame had grown taller, his steps tracing the dappled light filtering through willow leaves. His upward slanted eyes curved into a pleasing arc as he asked, "Sister Yaoer, why haven't you visited the palace these days?" I scattered the last handful of fish food and replied, "With you keeping the Empress Dowager company? Why should I enter the palace and be a thorn in her side?" In terms of closeness, Wei Lingyu was the Empress Dowager's closest relative. In terms of proximity, Wei Lingyu had now moved into Xi'an Palace, winning the Empress Dowager's favor to the extent that even Murong invited him to her literary gatherings. Then I must thank Sister Yao for having that official from the Astronomical Observatory speak well of me. Otherwise, the Empress Dowager might not even remember there's someone like me in the palace. We merely use each other. No need for such formalities. As I handed Wei Lingyu a pill to suppress the poisonous insect, a man's voice suddenly echoed from behind the rockery. "Where's Wang Yao today? Wasn't an invitation sent for this gathering?" Reporting to the young master, I heard the invitation was delivered. Then it seems she knows her own ignorance and dared not attend to avoid embarrassing herself. Willow branches hung low as the voices faded into the distance. Wei Lingyu's pupils were as dark as a deep pool, yet his smile curved like a new moon. "Sister Yuan, the wind by the pond is strong. Your hair is being blown about." I sidestepped his hand reaching for my hair. "Thank you for the reminder." When I left Shishi Garden, it was my second brother who came to fetch me. Murong and I were walking together, deep in conversation, when my second brother galloped up from the end of the street. "Greetings, Lady Yongjia." My second brother bowed respectfully to Murong. Standing between them, I sensed an inexplicable tension in the air. For their first meeting, Murong should have said, "No need for formalities." I looked at her in confusion. As if waking from a dream, she cleared her throat softly. "No. No need for formalities." I froze. I recalled Murong's voice hadn't sounded this gentle moments ago. As the crowd gradually dispersed, my second brother tugged the reins, reminding me it was time to return to the manor. Just then, a servant burst out, panting heavily before stopping before Murong. "Princess. Third young Master Lu." He slipped and fell into the water. "He's choked and passed out." Murong sucked in a sharp breath and hurried back into Shishi Garden. My second brother watched her retreating figure, curiosity in his voice. "Third young Master Lu? That Lu family scoundrel who's always had a bone to pick with me? That arrogant upstart?" It was him. He'd been here today too. You honor. It couldn't have been you. My second brother trailed off. Of course not. He was perfectly fine when I left the banquet. He may have secretly slandered me, but I certainly didn't lay a finger on him. Morongjin's figure had already vanished from sight. Wei Lingyu, exiting Xixi Garden, passed right by her. I watched Wei Lingyu lightly adjust his sleeves before stepping into his carriage without a glance to the side. My second brother beside me still murmured in disbelief. Could it truly be an accident? I withdrew my gaze and replied, perhaps. Yansu died on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival. During the palace banquet, the Prince of Yu, drunk from excessive drinking, was led away by palace attendants to sober up. It was then he encountered Yansu. Yansu, long subjected to cold indifference in the palace, spoke insolently in that moment, provoking the Prince of Yu. The prince struck him dead in a fit of rage, coinciding with a minor epidemic that had broken out around that time. The palace concealed the incident completely, claiming only that Yansu had died of the plague. The Prince of Yu, having lost favor, was arbitrarily dismissed from the capital under some pretext. I entered the palace to visit the Empress Dowager, coaxing her to take a tranquilizer at noon. As she slept deeply, I selected herbs in the outer hall to make a scented pouch for her. Curtains hung low around the room, and no one dared disturb us. Wei Lingyu, who had come to deliver Buddhist scriptures to the Empress Dowager, remained by my side. In a low, measured voice, he recounted how he had orchestrated Yansu's death and then shifted blame eastward to eliminate Prince Yu. I couldn't recall when this habit had formed, but whenever we were together, Wei Lingyu would often crouch before me while I sat, tilting his head up slightly to look at me, as if awaiting my praise. Wei Lingyu showed neither excitement nor panic. Instead, he gently hooked my finger with his own. Sister Yuan, who else would you like me to kill? Staring into his bright, sparkling eyes, I paused. These herbs and fragrances are all for calming the mind. I'll make you a pouch too. After all, the first time I plotted murder, I hadn't slept a wink all night. Wei Lingyu glanced down at the light, simple pouch hanging at his waist, his tone tinged with amusement. No need. I already have one. Father's chronic ailment, left over from his campaigns, flared up again. He entrusted second brother with managing the household affairs. Mother, who had never cared about such matters before, surprisingly voiced her displeasure, mentioning that eldest brother was the firstborn son. My second brother pretended not to hear her complaints, focusing instead on securing his position in court and entrusting household matters to me. This surface calm was shattered only when my second brother accidentally injured his arm. During his convalescence, Mother came to visit him at night, buried in the bedside, breathing steadily. I heard Mother lift the quilt and roll up my brother's sleeve. What was Mother searching for? The wound? My second brother, who had been feigning sleep, suddenly opened his eyes and asked, grabbing Mother's hand. The powder hidden under Mother's fingernails spilled onto the bed. I sat up straight, and in a daze, I felt a sense of so that's how it is, and I knew it. Hunger. You. Mother trembled with anger, flinging my second brother's hand away. You deceive your own mother? If a mother shows no compassion, must her children practice blind filial piety? My second brother retorted coldly. Mother pointed at him, momentarily speechless. I spoke up. Mother, you'd best explain what this powder is first. Otherwise, the Buddhist hall will burn tonight, and those inside won't escape. You. Mother turned her finger at me. Her cheeks flushed crimson. You cannot kill her. She is your sister. I have only ever had one sister, you honor. Second brother's expression turned utterly cold. Second brother and I had considered countless possibilities, but never imagined Yan Wanshu could be Mother's biological daughter. Mother was originally the daughter of a merchant family. Before her marriage, she had secretly pledged her life to the son of a servant in the household, only to be forcibly wed to father. For years, it was a one-sided affair. Father believed it a match made in heaven, while mother remained aloof by nature. In truth, she never harbored the slightest affection for him, and consequently, she never grew fond of the children born to them either. Year after year, her father's affection faded too, and their relationship became one of polite formality. The year her maternal grandmother passed away, her mother returned to her hometown to observe a year of mourning. There, she reunited with her childhood sweetheart, and thus Yan Wanshu was born. Yan Wanshu was born prematurely, frail and prone to illness. She grew up with her biological father. Her mother, torn between guilt and affection, seized the opportunity after her father's death to bring her back as an adopted daughter. Yan Wanshu was my half-sister, sharing the same mother but different fathers. The absurdity of this revelation nearly made me laugh. Because I refused to acknowledge her, mother accepted the powder she offered, helping her poison my second brother. She then orchestrated his rescue, hoping the family would accept him. This powder was actually poison. A mere sprinkle on a wound would seep into the bloodstream and meridians, causing unrelenting fever and body rashes. Only human blood could counteract it. This time, mother and she sought to repeat the trick, making second brother remember her life-saving favor so she could leave the Buddhist hall. Mother, who always stood at the pinnacle of filial piety, finally lowered her head after being forced to reveal the truth, begging me not to touch Yan Wanshu. My second brother was the first to grasp the implications. What about our eldest brother? Though he harbored affection for Yan Wanshu, they were still blood siblings. Mother offered a bitter smile. He is merely the son of a concubine. When your father married me, he promised lifelong fidelity, so he banished Yan Wanshu's birth mother and registered him under my name. Mother wanted the eldest brother to manage the household affairs solely because of his genuine affection for Yan Wanshu. Everything was done solely for the sake of Yan Wanshu. This daughter, with the truth laid bare, mother countered, "Have you heard enough?" Second brother and I both fell silent. Mother closed her eyes. Blood is thicker than water. If you kill her, if you spread this matter, I shall not live either. Grandfather had fallen ill, and mother decided to return to Liangzhou to fulfill filial duties to her father. Liangzhou, with its clear waters and lush mountains, boasted a mild climate, a truly pleasant place to live. My eldest brother and Yan Wanshu would accompany mother back. For this, I sought the Empress Dowager's edict to release Yan Wanshu from the Buddhist hall. The Empress Dowager had all but forgotten this girl existed. Learning she was to leave the capital permanently, she granted my request without hesitation. On the day of departure, my second brother and I escorted mother and her party to the city outskirts. In the sparsely populated area, towering trees stood tall. Mother lifted the curtain of the carriage window and looked at me riding alongside. Wang Yan, though you are my biological child, I have never liked you. It is likely because your eyes resemble your father's too much, and you did not grow up by my side. I misjudged your nature before. Now I'll wait and see how high this paper kite can fly. Yan Wanshu, riding in the carriage with mother, was half hidden in shadow. After speaking, mother lowered the curtain without waiting for my reply. Moments later, birds scattered in alarm. The moving procession halted abruptly, the whinnying of startled horses filling the air. Dozens of masked assassins leapt from the roadside woods, charging the convoy in unison. My second brother and I exchanged a glance. As the assassins closed in, arrows erupted from the distance, piercing the front ranks like porcupines. My second brother's armored guards arrived, their crossbows mowing down enemies with precision. The tide of battle turned instantly. My eldest brother, silent throughout the journey, drew his sword, its tip pointing at my second brother. his eyes bulging with fury. You did this deliberately. You chose this desolate road on purpose. Just to give me this chance, to lure me into the trap. Had you and Yan Wanshu done nothing, Yuan and I would have ensured your safe passage to Liangzhou. The bitterness and jealousy in the eldest brother's eyes were chilling. Wang Heng, drop this hypocritical facade. You merely used our grandfather's illness as an excuse to expel me and mother from the capital. Didn't you? Why is it that, as sons of the Wang family, father trusts you more, and the soldiers obey your commands? I am the eldest son. I will kill you. Captured assassins knelt along the roadside. Seeing defeat inevitable, my eldest brother shouted toward the carriage, "Sure, come out quickly. I'll take you away." The carriage shook, but it was mother who emerged first. Yan Wanshu pressed a hairpin against her mother's throat, the tip already piercing the flesh. Either let us go, or none of us live. Yan Wanshu bared her fangs. Her mother's voice was half disbelief, half agony. Wanshu, how could you be so foolish? Following Wang Min into such madness? Even if we reach Liangzhou, I could still ensure you never want for anything in life. Shut up! Yan Wanshu retorted shrilly while retreating backward, holding her mother hostage. They're both your daughters. Wang Yao gets to be a princess, while I'm treated like a rat hiding in the shadows. Tell me, why? I've already acknowledged you as my daughter. Recognized? So what? I simply cannot bear to see Wang Yan living well. Since we're both daughters, I'll take everything she has. Yan Wanshu had slowly retreated to her eldest brother's horse. A trickle of blood flowed down her mother's neck. Her mother's voice was hoarse. Living well? In the palace. She's merely a plaything for the noble ladies. Why won't you believe me? Look, how could my mother not know what kind of life I endured in the palace? She simply didn't care. My second brother rode up beside me. I said nothing, yet his eyes reddened. Mother, don't blame me. I simply couldn't bear it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have poisoned my father, severed all ties, and fled to you. Yan Wanshu whispered these bloody words into my mother's ear, then shouted at me, "Give me another swift horse." Watching my mother's eyes widen instantly with pain at Yan Wanshu's words, I loosened the reins. Fine. My horse is yours. The moment Yan Wanshu relaxed, I triggered the mechanism of my sleeve dart. A short, sharp arrow shot through the air, plunging straight into the center of Yan Wanshu's forehead. Almost simultaneously, my second brother hurled his sword, slicing through my eldest brother's throat. Blood splattered across mother's face. I couldn't tell whose it was. The thud of my eldest brother falling from his horse mingled with mother's shrieks. Mother collapsed to the ground, too terrified to turn and look at the two corpses behind her. My second brother and I dismounted and approached mother. I knelt down and wiped the blood from her face. Mother, blood is thicker than water. Yan Wanshu is dead. Do you truly wish to die as well? You killed her. Mother's body trembled, her voice quivering. It was me. But I'm not cruel enough to kill my own mother with my own hands. Whether you live or die is entirely your choice. My second brother had arranged ample men. The road was cleared swiftly. Dark clouds hung heavy. Another rain tonight would wash away all traces. I personally helped mother into the carriage. Her hands were bitterly cold, taking a long time to warm. Rest assured, mother, my second brother isn't as ruthless as I am. He'll send a squadron of guards to escort you safely to Liangzhou. He'll also ensure you live out your days in peace at your maternal family's home. As for father, I will tell him that mother and my eldest brother are living well in Liangzhou. I ask mother to remember this too. Mother, who was about to enter the carriage, paused and looked down at me. Are you threatening me? Fine. These are the two fine daughters I bore. Mother was joking. To have good daughters, one must first be a good mother. After taking several deep breaths, Mother brushed my hand away and entered the carriage alone. Before the curtain fell, I caught a glimpse of her in the dim light. Years of pampered living had left her face untouched by age, though now it bore countless traces of weariness. Oh, and Mother was mistaken about one thing. I curved my lips. Daughters aren't kites. The yuan in Wang Yuan means eagle. The curtain fell, and the carriage grew distant. On the way back to the city, a fine mist-like rain finally began to fall. My second brother produced a paper umbrella from somewhere and held it over my head. Yuan, let your elder brother buy you some Hawaii cakes, he said. News of Yen's death had already reached Nanyue. Unsurprisingly, Nanyue did not seize the opportunity to provoke conflict over Yen's death. Instead, they proposed an alliance treaty, no warfare for 10 years. No more sending hostages. And no more political marriages. To secure this treaty and retrieve Yen's coffin, Nanyue dispatched an embassy. The terms of the alliance were reasonable, and the promise of non-aggression was welcome. News of its contents spread rapidly. Second brother was among the first court officials to see the treaty's contents. When he returned home and spoke of it to me, I asked about something else. Second brother, do you know who the envoys from Nanyue are? My heart pounded like a drum. Nothing is finalized yet, but I hear the second princess of Nanyue will lead the delegation. She is certain to come. This marks the first time Nanyue has ever sent a woman as an envoy. I clenched my hands unconsciously. It's her. She's coming. Winter always arrived early in the capital of Daki, and it was exceptionally bitter. Words spoken seemed to freeze into ice instantly. The Southern U delegation arrived in the capital during the coldest days. The treaty negotiations proceeded remarkably smoothly. The emperor hosted a banquet for the envoys in the palace, and my second brother and I both entered the palace. Outside the hall, the cold wind raged. Inside, it was warm as spring. My seat was diagonally opposite Wei Lingyu. The emperor frequently visited the Empress Dowager to pay his respects, inevitably encountering Wei Lingyu. Wei Lingyu played the role of the most devoted and filial grandson to perfection. The emperor, still seething over the incident where Prince Yu mistakenly killed Yensu, found some solace in Wei Lingyu. He even began to pay more attention to this eldest grandson he had neglected for over a decade. Wei Lingyu propped his chin on his hand. Our eyes met briefly in the air. Seeing he had no intention of looking away, I took my seat and pretended not to notice. When the envoys from Nanyue entered the hall, I immediately spotted the tall woman leading them, Yen Rong, the second princess of Nanyue. She was sharp and spirited, radiant as the sun. My heartbeat quickened, and I unconsciously tightened my grip on my sleeve. Half a step behind Yen Rong stood a man as straight as green bamboo, slender and upright, exuding scholarly refinement. Yet I knew he possessed bones of bronze, utterly unlike the gentle appearance he presented. Yen Rong's arrival brought a moment of silence to the hall. After taking her seat, she surveyed the room expressionlessly, her gaze finally settling on me. Our eyes met. 1,000 words were spoken without a sound. She lifted her lips to drink. I lifted my lips to drink. This toast was not for others, but for our chance encounter. Snow drifted softly through the night, its gentle fall beautifully illuminated by the full moon. After the palace banquet, back at my residence, I pushed open the west-facing window and placed a candle upon the sill. About half an hour later, footsteps crunched through the snow across the roof tiles. Someone climbed through the window, reached for the scissors beside the candle, and skillfully trimmed the wick. So you still remember? Yen Rong set down the silver scissors, his features softened by the candlelight. I smiled faintly, my vision blurred by tears. The candle left at the west window was for our meeting. I shall never forget. Yen Rong smiled too, his eyes moist. When news of Yen's death reached me, I suspected you had returned. You acted swiftly and ruthlessly. Was the clause forbidding marriage alliances your addition? I brokered the alliance. So naturally I proposed that clause. Great Chi hasn't yet declined. Your second brother is at the height of his power. And Southern Yu's forces are stretched thin. You know well that Yen's death meant little to my father. Seizing the opportunity to forge an alliance was what mattered. Yen Rong answered calmly, adding, I spent half a year eliminating Situ Xiu and consolidating the Situ family's power. 2 months ago, my father granted me the right to participate in state affairs. You acted swiftly and ruthlessly. Having been granted a second life, if I were to drag my feet, show mercy, or cling to the past, would that not betray heaven's benevolence? Yen Rong lifted her chin. Yen Rong is the sole daughter of the Queen of Nanyue. In my past life, when I was sent as a peace bride to Nanyue, she was locked in a power struggle with the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince of Nanyue advocated for war, while Yen Su bullied the weak and feared the strong, acting without scruple. Knowing he had no chance of ascending the throne, he devoted himself entirely to the Crown Prince, becoming his henchman. It would not be an exaggeration to say he slaughtered without mercy, plotting countless underhanded schemes against Yen Rong. After befriending Yen Rong, we worked together to eliminate Yen Su. Then, posing as the orphan child of the sixth prince, I established a foothold in Nanyu, infiltrating spies into the Crown Prince's inner circle. After days when 1,000 blades hung over our heads, the Prince of Nanyue was defeated by Yen Rong. Yet, just as she stood inches from the dragon throne, her own uncle, Situ Xiu, pulled her down. One misstep, and the entire game was lost. The Southern Yu dynasty changed hands. Yen Rong died pierced by countless arrows. I leapt from the city walls, fulfilling our bond of deep friendship. Snow rarely falls in Southern Yu. Now, seeing it in Great Chi, Yen Rong showed no fear of the cold, playing happily in the courtyard. Wrapped in my cloak, I rolled a snowball and tossed it to her. The snowball was loose, she blocked it, and it scattered everywhere. Yen Rong rolled a denser one and handed it back. I'll be returning in a few days. Would you like to meet Xie Songhan? I've already tested the waters, only the two of us have been reborn. I took the snowball, its chill sending a shiver through my heart. Forget it. I won't meet him. Once I leave this time, who knows when we'll meet again. Now he's an official of Nanyue, and I'm a princess of Daki. He harbors ambitions of becoming a marquis and prime minister, while I long to escape the imperial city sooner rather than later. He doesn't recognize me, and we'd have nothing to say if we met. Better not to see each other at all. Wang Yan, you're becoming more and more like Xie Songhan. Yen Rong looked up at the moon, seeming somewhat sentimental. Don't come to see me off when I leave. I dislike farewells. All right. The Southern Yu delegation chose a snowless day to depart, a grand procession trailing behind Yen Su's coffin. Yen Rong disliked farewells, though I'd promised not to see her off. I still climbed the city wall, silently watching her recede into the distance. Yen Rong walked with spirited vigor. From a distance, I thought I saw Xie Songhan, who had been walking beside her, turn his head. But just then, the wind picked up. I squinted, unable to see clearly. The snow had been cleared from the city streets. After descending the ramparts, I walked alone through the streets when Wei Lingyu suddenly appeared, blocking my path like a divine soldier descending from the heavens. How did you leave the palace? I asked, somewhat surprised. Wei Lingyu shifted to shield me from the wind. The emperor has granted me a residence. Henceforth, I may live outside the palace. Congratulations. Did you go to see off the Southern Yu delegation? And what of it? I countered. Did you go to see off that Xie official? Wei Lingyu had never pressed me before. His first inquiry struck directly at Xie Songhan. I gathered my cloak and stepped past Wei Lingyu. He turned and followed, at the palace banquet. I spotted that Xia official at once. His every gesture, every word, reminded me so much of you. Under normal circumstances, I would have praised Wei Lingyo's sharp intuition. But now, I asked calmly, are you testing me? Accusing me of colluding with a foreign power? Of course not. Wei Lingyu stammered, startled by my tone. I never meant that. You should go see your new residence, I replied. After shaking off Wei Lingyu, my thoughts grew chaotic. Was I truly that similar to Xie Songhan? If so, it wouldn't be surprising. After all, he was the one who taught me everything. He'd once smiled and told me, a kite is an eagle, it soars through the skies. Even if I wanted to forget, the identical handwriting, preferences, and schemes constantly reminded me of Xie Songhan's existence. A heavy stone seemed lodged in my chest, making it hard to breathe. Since my rebirth, time always felt like it was flying by. My second brother gradually consolidated military power. At some point, he and me.Reborn developed feelings for each other. By the time I noticed, he was already blushing as he told me he intended to propose. After father's old ailment flared up again, he withdrew from affairs. He vaguely sensed something amiss about mother and eldest brother's trip to Liangzhou. Yet he never pressed me or my second brother for details. Mother would never leave Liangzhou. I scrambled to arrange my brother's wedding, my mind still foggy even on the day of the ceremony. Me.Reborn became my sister-in-law, which conveniently allowed Wei Lingyu to visit our home. Though Me.Reborn and he were not far apart in age, by family ties she was his second cousin once removed. Realizing I'd inexplicably gained a generation in seniority, I nearly laughed out loud. The Me.Reborn family and the princess consort became my second brother's powerful backers. His official rank rose 3 times in a single year, his influence growing ever greater. Consequently, suitors seeking my hand in marriage began arriving in greater numbers. I avoided them like the plague, and my sister-in-law, frightened, shut the doors to visitors. After a day of peace, Wei Lingyu scaled the wall and slipped inside. He couldn't fight, so his wall climbing was rather clumsy. But when he handed me a stack of papers, he looked full of spirit. Confused, I took the papers. They were densely covered in writing. What is this? I frowned after flipping through a few pages. These are the absurd deeds committed by those suitors in their daily lives. Wei Lingyu crouched skillfully before me, his gaze softening. Sister Yuan, they are unworthy of you. Indeed, they are unworthy. I waved the papers in my hand. And I have no intention of marrying. Wei Lingyu stiffened. They may not be worthy, but surely someone is. Who? Are you trying to arrange a match for me too? Wei Lingyu's lips parted, but he remained silent as he climbed over the wall and left. In the 37th year of the Qingqian era, the emperor passed away. The Wang and Me.Reborn clans joined forces, elevating Wei Lingyu to the throne. Emperor Wei Lingyu proved a capable ruler, discerning in his appointments, tireless in his governance. He reversed the decadent excesses that had plagued the great Qi court for years. His only miscalculation? Though now residing within the palace walls, no one dared restrict his movements. He developed the habit of scaling the wall into my courtyard each night. The youth I first met was now approaching adulthood. Wei Lingyu's wall scaling grew increasingly agile and practiced, and my initial astonishment gradually faded into routine familiarity. Rare treasures from the palace were slipped out by Wei Lingyu, piling up in my storeroom until they became playthings for my young niece and nephew. My father's illness showed no improvement despite exhausting all remedies. After years of battle, he passed away in the bleak autumn. The Great Qi mourning period lasted a year. Shortly after its end, I heard that the Emperor of Nanyue had abdicated as the retired emperor, passing the throne to the second princess, Yen Rong. Xie Songhan's lifelong ambition had been to become the foremost scholar official and reform Nanyu's entrenched corruption. Now both he and Yenrong could see their wishes fulfilled. I paused, suddenly realizing how long it had been since I'd thought of Xie Songhan. Gazing at the empty sky, I felt an emptiness within myself. It wasn't because of Xie Songhan, but simply that this square courtyard felt stiflingly oppressive. That night, when Wei Lingyu scaled the wall to find me, his expression was filled with indignation. Sister Yuan, today someone actually petitioned the court to have me added to the harem. As Wei Lingyu muttered, I handed him a small brocaded box. He opened it to reveal a pill inside. Wei Lingyu chuckled, another new bug? Watching his eager expression, I genuinely wanted to pry open his skull and see what was inside. This is the antidote for the bug inside you. I lied when I said it could only be suppressed. Take this pill, and your bug will be completely neutralized. Wei Lingyu's smile froze on his face. Why give this to me? Sitting on the swing in the courtyard, I swayed slowly. It was to control you back then. Now, it seems unnecessary. Besides, I plan to leave the capital. My return date is uncertain. The Wang family has consolidated their power step by step. They are now unshakable. And given Wei Lingyu's character, he won't take action against the Wang family either. The poison truly has no reason to persist. Leave the capital? Where to? Wei Lingyu murmured after hearing my words. The world is vast, I'll wander its corners. The moment Wei Lingyu crushed the antidote, I thought I was hallucinating. I don't want this antidote. You can take me with you. After Wei Lingyu spoke, I thought I was hearing things. Are you mad? You're the emperor. Wei Lingyu let his hand fall limply. His voice muffled, yes. I am the emperor. You said before that Daki needs a good emperor. Only the rustling of leaves in the courtyard remained. After a moment, Wei Lingyu lifted his head. Why leave? I don't like it here. After a brief silence, Wei Lingyu said, I understand. You dislike the capital and the palace. Go to wherever you wish. Seeing Wei Lingyu had come to terms with it, I pulled out another brocade box. Fortunately, there were 2 antidotes. You only destroyed one. Wei Lingyu recoiled sharply. As if confronting some terrifying beast, I don't want this antidote. I'd rather you send me the old medicine that suppresses the poisonous insects every month. Why? I had previously offered to give him a 6-month supply all at once. But he refused, insisting on monthly deliveries. At least this way, it proves we still have a connection. It shows you haven't abandoned me. Wei Lingyu's words made me feel inexplicably like a faithless man. Before I could shake that thought, I heard Wei Lingyu ask cautiously. After you leave, will you miss me? Yes. I answered truthfully, without hesitation. The affection accumulated over countless days and nights couldn't be faked. Wei Lingyu nodded, murmuring to himself, then I'll go. Staying any longer would only bring regret. Watching his dazed, despondent retreat, I clenched the brocade box in my hand. A feeling called reluctance stirred within me, only to be defeated by the yearning for freedom. I paused, then reminded Wei Lingyu, that's the courtyard gate. The wall is on the right. Wei Lingyu's footsteps faltered, and he straightened his spine. Today, I will exit through the main gate. After leaving the capital, I journeyed southward, witnessing many splendid landscapes. My monthly ritual remained unchanged, sending letters to my brother and sister-in-law, and dispatching medicinal pills and correspondence to the palace. I sent Wei Lingyu all the pill formulas, only for him to reply that the prescriptions had been lost, leaving me as his sole source. One day in a small town, I saw an old man sprawled in the road, clutching a girl dressed as a boy. He claimed she'd injured him and demanded compensation. The girl's fury turned to laughter. You're just scamming me. Her fresh turn of phrase amused me greatly. I intervened to help her escape the situation and treated her to a meal. After she explained the meaning of scam to me, a sudden clarity dawned on me. I felt as though Wei Lingyu had scammed me. After she had eaten and drunk her fill, the young woman bid me farewell. I cautioned her, a woman traveling alone must be vigilant in all matters. You saw through my disguise? Quite clearly, I replied sincerely. The girl scratched the back of her head. Truth is, I wanted to enlist. I'm quite skilled, but these past 2 days of hunger have sapped my strength. Cross-dressing to join the army was a grave crime in Daki. Looking at the vibrant young woman before me, I rummaged through my bag and handed her a jade pendant. Take this jade pendant to the Wang family in the capital. Seek out my sister-in-law, her name is Murongzhen. She's an exceptional woman who manages all affairs in the household. If you possess genuine talent, she'll secure you a promising path. Since leaving the capital, I've never returned to the imperial city. The sights and sounds along my journey gradually filled the emptiness within me. Traveling far from home, news from the capital always reached me days later. For instance, Wei Lingyu refused to expand his harem. Since my sister-in-law was his maternal aunt, he directly adopted my young nephew into his biological father's lineage, making him his younger brother. He called it a family connection, both being imperial descendants. By the time I heard this news, Wei Lingyu was already weeping bitterly at ancestral rites while proclaiming my young nephew as crown prince. Then there was the young girl who took my jade pendant to the capital. Her martial prowess proved extraordinary. She single-handedly defeated 100 bandits during a campaign, earning great merit and becoming my niece's martial arts instructor. By the time I learned of her, she had already become a female general in the army. Though her rank was still low, she was the first of her kind in the Great Qi. Then there was the sudden death of the reigning emperor. The 14-year-old heir ascended the throne, and the transfer of power proceeded smoothly. The court remained entirely stable. This news spread faster than the others. While sipping tea at a roadside tea house, the announcement of Emperor Wei Lingyu's death suddenly echoed through the world. I choked on my tea, coughing uncontrollably. Judging by the timing on the proclamation, if Emperor Wei Lingyu had truly died during the sweltering summer, his body would have already begun to decompose. I shook my head, finally understanding the meaning behind Wei Lingyu's last letter urging me to stay longer at my current residence. I rented a courtyard in the small town, originally planning to leave, but now I've extended my stay. Half a month later, an uninvited guest indeed arrived at the small courtyard. After 9 years apart, Wei Lingyu looked exactly as I remembered him. I'm passing through and would like a drink of water. Wei Lingyu's voice was deeper and more composed. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling there was a hint of mischief in it. Just water? And lodging. I don't keep idle hands around. Lodging comes with work. Wei Lingyu raised an eyebrow. I knew you'd say that. So I brought an assistant. As Wei Lingyu finished speaking, a head suddenly peeked out from the doorway. Eyes sparkling, Auntie. I came to find you. Wei Lingyu had faked his death and abdicated. When he left the capital, he'd even managed to bring my little niece, Ninger, along. I was both amused and exasperated. Ninger shot toward me like an arrow, burying herself in my arms in an instant. A few paces away, Wei Lingyu watched us, hands clasped behind his back. His eyes held their familiar warmth, his smile unchanged. Months later, Wei Lingyu, now completely free of the curse, and I escorted Ninger back home. Wearing a mask, Wei Lingyu openly spent New Year's Eve and the Lantern Festival with me and my family in the mansion. After the first month of the lunar year, I set out once more. Only this time, I was no longer alone. Wei Lingyu traveled with me, just as I had been in the past. He found everything fascinating, tugging at my sleeve to revisit all the marvels I had described in my letters. One morning while staying in a quiet village, Wei Lingyu wandered off somewhere. I couldn't find him. But near the door, I discovered his sachets. He'd carried these sachets for many years, they were now quite worn. The silk ribbon had snapped, causing them to fall here. The sachets felt light, as if empty, and carried no scent. I opened the pouch to find only a neatly folded sheet of paper inside. Unfolding it revealed a single petal, faded, pressed flat, and yellowed, of a hydrangea blossom. Memories of Wei Lingyu surged forth. It was the silent hall of tranquil splendor. Wei Lingyu had taken the medicine I gave him and knelt before me. I asked him to kill Yan Su. He raised his hand, stiff with pain, brushed the hydrangea petal from my robe, and smiled as he said, "All right." That petal, which had fallen into Wei Lingyu's palm, had been hidden by him all these years. I closed the pages, tucking the petal back into the sachetry. A moment later, Wei Lingyu hurried back. "Where did you go?" I asked. "To pick fruit." "Where's the fruit?" I turned back before reaching the spot. Wei Lingyu seemed flustered. "I lost my sachetry. I searched the whole way but couldn't find it." I extended my hand from behind my back, the sachet swaying lightly in my grasp. "It fell by the door. I found it." Wei Lingyu took the sachet, exhaling sharply. "Thank goodness it's still here. The cord broke. I'll make you a new one." I paused, then added, "But the contents inside, those won't be replaced." Wei Lingyu froze for a moment, then broke into a silly grin. "All right. They won't be replaced. Not for a lifetime. With heaven and earth as our witnesses." Wei Lingyu and I pledged our lives to each other. My name is Wei Lingyu, a royal grandson raised in the Luhua Palace. As a child, I was cared for by an old wet nurse. She told me I was the posthumous son of the deposed crown prince, with no backing in the palace. She warned me to be cautious, to let everyone forget me, only then could I survive. When I was 7, the wet nurse fell ill. To save her, I ventured beyond the Luhua Hall for the first time, only to lose my way in the imperial garden. I stopped a palace maid, begging her to lead me to the imperial physician. She was so startled she shrieked. Her cry drew others. I backed away step by step, huddling beside a tree, where I saw a being as ethereal as a celestial child. The same maid who had screamed addressed her as princess. I couldn't understand why she seemed unhappy, for she wore a beautiful bun and lovely robes. She must have overheard something. After glancing at me, she instructed the palace maid in a voice nearly as childlike as mine, "Have the imperial physician come." Her single command granted my nanny 3 more years of life. And I remembered her. Later, I finally learned why she had been unhappy. She was Princess Yongkong, raised in Xi'an Palace. The Empress Dowager residing there was neither benevolent nor at peace, a hypocritical old woman who happened to be my great-grandmother. I occasionally heard news of her. One winter, her parents finally returned to the capital and took her out of the palace. On the day she left, I sneaked a peek. She wore a crimson cloak embroidered with orchids, its white fox fur collar snug around her neck, warm and beautiful. She ran along the palace exit path, like a fluttering butterfly soaring over the snowdrifts to meet her family. I imagined she would always be as joyful as she was that day. But I was wrong. When I saw her again, her expression had grown colder. This time, it was I who had fallen ill. The old nurse had passed away 2 years prior, and the young eunuch who tried to summon the imperial physician for me was beaten half to death. Lying in the bed of the Luhua Hall, I wondered if the old nurse had been mistaken. I had already shrunk myself into existence. Yet still, I couldn't go on living. I had no strength left, and felt there was no way out. But then, the doors of the Luhua Hall were pushed open, letting in a sliver of light. The one who pushed the doors open was that little princess, who looked like a celestial child back then. I thought I was dreaming. I raised my finger, wanting to touch her. But before I could reach her, I fainted. When I woke up, I realized it wasn't a dream. She had saved me. She had no memory of ever meeting me before. She only wanted a sharp blade. I tentatively called her Sister Yuan. She said little, only handing me a pill laced with a parasitic worm. Without hesitation, I swallowed it. She ordered me to kill the hostage sent by Nanyu. I knew exposure would mean eternal damnation. Yet I agreed. She finally smiled, a faint, fleeting smile that vanished in an instant. A petal from the embroidered ball on her robe fell into my palm. In my heart, I whispered, "Grandma, hiding away is useless. I want a different way to live. A way to stand beside Wang Yao." Perhaps I was never meant to be a good person. After leaving the palace of radiant splendor, I climbed upward by any means necessary, thriving like a fish in water. I couldn't bear to hear anyone speak ill of her. When someone called her ignorant, I shoved him into the pond and rinsed his mouth with the water. Later, I schemed to kill Yen Su and asked her whose name she wanted me to kill next. I craved her to name someone, to prove I was still useful. She paused, then said she could make me a calming sach. My entire body froze. How could anyone in this world be as good as her? Yet this good person would steal glances at an envoy from Nanyue. That envoy resembled her so much that I wanted to throw him out immediately. A strange emotion churned in my chest, crystallizing into two words: jealousy. Fortunately, my jealousy didn't last long. The man from Nanyue left. I suspected her relationship with that envoy was more than ordinary. But since she didn't want to talk about it, I didn't press further. Time reveals true character. She would come to understand that I was the blade most suited for her. I grew increasingly reluctant to leave her. As a blade, I honed myself to be sharp and gleaming, only to end up becoming emperor by some strange twist of fate. The weight of thorny court affairs left me breathless. Night after night, I climbed over the wall to see her, the only way I could find peace. But one day, she suddenly announced she was leaving. She even gave me the antidote to completely break the curse. Panic seized me, the terror of abandonment washed over me, and I crushed the potion in my hand. Yet in the end, I let her go, because she didn't want to stay here. I asked if she'd miss me after leaving. She said she would. In that instant, I knew beyond doubt she held me in her heart. I secretly rejoiced that I'd respected her decision, not destroying this hard-won bond. That night, I walked out through the main gate of her residence properly, startling quite a few people. But I wanted everyone to know I wouldn't fill my harem. My heart was set on the young princess of the Wang family. Even if she left the capital, I would never change. After she departed, she often sent me letters. I had never seen her so joyful, and I missed her terribly. A wild idea took root in my mind and was swiftly put into action. I appointed her nephew as crown prince and devoted everything to teaching him. He was brilliant, outshining both me and his own father. When he turned 14, I secretly staged my own death, terrifying everyone. But I knew it wouldn't frighten her. She understood me better than anyone. Sure enough, when I found her, she merely smiled at me, just as she had in my dreams. I exhaled deeply. I'd had enough of being a good emperor. Now I would be Wei Lingyu, the man of Wang Yao. As a youth, I asked my father why he named me Songhan. He said the coal pine stands tall and straight, and he wanted me to never bend the backbone of a scholar. Then, I vowed in my heart that one day, the name Xie Songhan would be etched into the annals of history. At 19, I passed the imperial examinations, entered the court, and ultimately became a disciple of the second princess. The customs of Nanua were open-minded, its women enjoyed greater freedom than those of Daki. The second princess's learning and talent were in no way inferior to those of the imperial princes. She possessed both a compassionate heart and shrewd tactics. I willingly submitted to her guidance. Sure enough, the second princess was soon granted permission to participate in state affairs. Later, she was dispatched on a diplomatic mission to Daki to sign a treaty. For reasons unknown, the second princess brought me along on this mission. The closer we drew to the capital of Daki, the more visibly tense she became. I assumed the pressure of her first diplomatic mission weighed heavily upon her. Yet one day, I overheard her whispering a name, Wang Yan. Later, at a palace banquet, I saw the woman she spoke of. She was a princess of Daki, daughter of the renowned prince of Jinan. The second princess was peculiar. She'd been murmuring the name all along the journey. Yet upon meeting her, she didn't exchange a single word. During the banquet, I glanced at the princess out of curiosity, only to meet her gaze directly. My mind went blank. Her eyes were breathtakingly beautiful, like pools of water formed from melting ice and snow. Though we'd just met, it felt as if we'd known each other for ages, like reuniting with an old friend. This sensation left me utterly dazed. Fortunately, she averted her gaze. Otherwise, I would have lost all composure. The dancers in the hall moved gracefully, their flowing robes fluttering. Beyond them, I could no longer meet her eyes. The day we left Daki, the wind stung our faces. The envoy's pace wasn't swift, and outside the city gates, I felt as though I'd lost something, as if compelled by some unseen force. I glanced back. There she was again, the princess. She stood upon the ramparts. Though the distance was great, I knew without a doubt that silhouette was hers. I didn't know whom she had come to see off. Part of me hoped she was here for me. The moment that thought surfaced, I inwardly scolded myself. A foolish notion, unnecessarily sullying her. After returning to Nanua, I threw myself into court affairs. Later, the second princess defeated her rivals and ascended the throne. My ambition to be recorded in history, to be enfeoffed as a marquis and appointed chancellor, drew closer. Great Qi also witnessed momentous changes. The Wang and Morong clans rose to dominate the aristocracy, while the long-neglected imperial grandson ascended as the new emperor. I couldn't fathom why I found myself deliberately seeking news of Wang Yan. She thrived as the Wang family's cherished jewel. Though rarely ventured out, rumors suggested a melancholy disposition. The next news I heard about her was that she had left the capital of Daki to travel the land. I wonder how many places she visited. I envied her carefree spirit. Yet I knew my life was destined to be consumed by the court. Investigating corruption, rooting out fraud, eliminating redundancy. For the first time, I learned that even civil officials faced so many assassination attempts. After countless brushes with death, I rose to become the right chancellor. Those who once mocked me as a lowly commoner could only glare at my retreating back. For years, Nanyu and Dachi remained at peace. Both nations' people enjoyed rest and recovery, basking in contentment. The annals will surely record my name. Xia Songhan. Yet the second princess of old, now Her Majesty the Empress, has taken it upon herself to arrange my marriage. She speaks plainly, expressing concern that I'll return to an empty house and cold meals. How could it be cold meals? My residence employs a cook. I dare not admit the faint shadow of someone lingering in my heart. A princess from another realm, I dare not even utter her name. Several more years passed, and another emperor of Daki passed away. This ruler was truly a once-in-a-millennium figure, without consorts or heirs. He devoted himself entirely to nurturing a child bearing the royal bloodline. That child possessed remarkable talent. His maternal grandmother had been a long-standing princess, and he was forcibly designated as heir apparent before ascending the throne as the new emperor. Rumors swirled that the late emperor had been infatuated with the princess of the Wang family, even secretly scaling their walls. But I didn't believe it. How could an emperor do such a thing? That unofficial history was far too wild. Having lived alone for so long, I developed the habit of strolling the streets during my days off. One day, while walking, I heard someone behind me call out, "Yuan." Amidst the bustling crowd, I instinctively turned and noticed a man and a woman walking closely together, their backs visible. The man who had called out was the one who turned around, revealing a mask covering his face. The woman never turned to face me. I felt a wave of dizziness. That silhouette hadn't changed at all. It was exactly the same as when she rose and left the hall in the Daki Imperial Palace all those years ago. She had come to Nanyue after all, now accompanied by a beloved partner. Yet it held no surprise. Yuan means hawk, a bird that soars through the vast skies. Between heaven and earth, her presence anywhere was only natural. We walked in opposite directions, each disappearing into the clamorous crowd. Tomorrow brings no day of rest. To ensure that page in the annals of history is written in bold, vivid strokes, I must return to my duties. The end.